That's right, folks. Here we are to talk about The Devil Wears Prada 2. I'm Robbie Holmes. I'm your host here at Geek on Film. I am so excited to have two back-to-back Anne Hathaway vehicles to get a chance to talk about. So let's start off with our friends over at IMDb. Andy Sachs reunites with Miranda Priestley as they navigate their careers amid the decline of traditional magazine publishing. I have this as 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd, and my review was a nostalgia-fueled sequel that is likely better than it has any right to be. The leads are all great, and it is truly Anne Hathaway's movie. Yeah, that's a pretty good starting point, I feel like. Let's talk a little bit about the movie. Movie opens with Anne Hathaway's character winning a journalism award and finding out during that award that her and her entire team have been fired via conglomeration, buyouts, all kinds of stuff. So that is a starting point, and it sets the tone for the whole rest of the movie, which is where we hear this idea of going from creating magazine content and writing features that are important and doing these spreads around design to content creation and clicks and social media. That's sort of the thesis statement, it feels like, for the whole movie. There's a lot of other, fun sprinkled in throughout it, but I think the reality is we are seeing a movie that is talking a lot about the industry, and it is just utilizing the Devil Wears Prada's costume to tell that story. I don't know that you could have created a movie with this much resonance and it would get as much viewership as it did in this case if you had just made movie about the magazine industry falling apart and changing if it didn't have the Devil Wears 2 Prada logo in front of it. I was impressed. I think Meryl Streep playing Miranda here is fantastic. There's a lot more vulnerability. I think her husband is played by Kenneth Branagh in a role that I'm glad he got paid. It feels like he just showed up and was like, yeah, I can do 4 scenes. That's totally fine. Then you get the Anne Hathaway returning to the magazine, to Runway, and that transformation happening because of a blunder by the features person at Runway about a fast fashion magazine or fast fashion company that was utilizing effectively like sweatshops to make their material. Emily Blunt has sort of gone and left the Runway ecosystem and is off leading up work for, I think it's Dior, in their physical spaces and selling material. And then Stanley Tucci as Nigel is hanging tough by Miranda's side. I like this movie. I think it feels a little bit convoluted to get Annie and Emily back in the same space, but that's what you need to do for a legacy sequel, and it's done in a way that at least makes some sense and somebody thought about it. I think the script is really smart. It's written by Aileen Brosh McKenna and Lauren Weisberger, I believe, who wrote the original movie, and it is directed by Dave Frankel, and it's good. It's good for what it is. Not everything is going for, I'm going to create this amazing, Oscars or awards ceremony film. This movie feels like a movie that was really created to say, like, we had a lot of fun, and Devil Wears Prada was a surprisingly interesting movie that was like a real coming of age movie for Emily Blunt with the support of amazing actors around them. It was like Emily Blunt sort of like tour de force coming to the stage. And I think this one is really like Anne Hathaway returning to this after being sort of the current it girl in the 40s cinema, and she's fantastic. And I think the movie's really good. It's fun. It feels a little hyper polished. Sean Fennessy over on The Big Pick talked about the fact that it feels a little bit like an episode of The Morning Show, but I think that's just the fact that a movie like this has so many settings, so many locations, and you have the ability to now ground in those real locations with things like drone shots and other things, which is a little bit more polish and shine than you would normally get if it was shot on film or if it was done in different ways. So this movie just feels a little bit like it's showing off, like, look at all the locations we're at. We were actually in New York. We were really in Paris. Like, I think it gets a lot of that going on, but I don't think it takes away from the movie. I think it's just a note more than almost anything else. I really had a good time. I got to go with my wife and some friends here in Arizona, and it was just great to be able to walk out of the theater and be like, that was pretty good, better than I was kind of expecting. I didn't have to be the negative Nancy and be like, yeah, I'm the film nerd guy, Robbie the geek and geek on film and all those things, and just be like, yeah, this wasn't good, because that's not the case. This was pretty good. I think I'm going to leave it there. There's a couple of really nice surprises. I think there's one great cameo that, if you've listened to the soundtrack at all, is really it becomes very obvious pretty quickly who that's going to be, and I think it's handled with aplomb. And I think we came out of Mother Mary, and I was like, God, we could be in a position where that movie creates a Best Original Song nomination. Well, hold my beer is what the Devil Wears Prada 2 is saying, because there's a couple of songs in this movie that I think could both be nominated. And they're both sung by the same person. And I think that is pretty unbelievable. And they just changed the rules to say that there can be, two, the same actor can be nominated for more than one role in the same category. And I feel like the first thing I thought about after seeing this movie is, boy, we could have a situation where the same artist is nominated for two songs in the Best Original Song category. It's probably the extent of its awards nominations ability. It's probably it could be a Golden Globe nom, somewhere in here. I think Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep are possible. But I just think it's fun. It's a good time at the movies. Yeah, don't let anybody lie to you and tell you it's not. It's totally reasonable, and it was fun. And the people I was with really enjoyed it. My wife was on board; she had such a good time with it. And I feel like once in a while, it's so cool to have something like this where you can just go in and be like, that was fun. It wasn't targeted at anything else. So there you go. That's me, Robbie, for this review on The Devil Wears Prada 2. And I look forward to chatting with you soon. I think the next one's probably going to be the Billie Eilish 3D movie. I have to figure out a time to do that. But thanks so much for sticking around. Please like, subscribe, comment, do it again. I'd really love to hear from all of you. Those subscriptions really do help. And I look forward to my next movie and my next conversation with you. Keep an eye out for instant reactions that I put all over the place: TikTok, YouTube. Once in a while, you'll see them on my Instagram. But I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day. Bye. Oh, Easter egg. I got to go to the stiletto showing. Yeah, I got a pin. Isn't that cool? All right, I'm done. Bye.